welcome back to Newfoundland and Labrador Studies 2205. This is Unit 3, The Country Grows, Section 3, Lesson 2, Video 2, on Immigrant Experiences. First, let's talk about immigrants from China. Most Chinese immigrants came to Newfoundland and Canada from the Guangdong province of southern China. They faced poverty and poor farming conditions. Most immigrants arrived through Vancouver. Some chose not to stay in Canada due to the high head tax, like I mentioned in the previous video, and came to Newfoundland as there wasn't one here until 1906. During the journey across Canada, some immigrants were even escorted by the RCMP to discourage them from stopping and settling in Canada along the way. Immigrants from China settled primarily in St. John's, Harbour Grace, and Carbonear, opening small businesses such as laundries and restaurants. Others gained employment as shore workers with the fishery, as gardeners, domestic workers, and miners on Bell Island. Many Chinese immigrants faced prejudice. Primary sources tell of people having mud and stones thrown at them, windows of their businesses broken, and their traditions ridiculed. I wanted to bring your attention to the image on the right. It's also in your textbook, and was a gathering of the Chinese community in St. John's in front of the Nichols Theatre. You can see that there are a lot of people there, as it was a prominent time for Chinese immigration in the province. Now let's talk about immigrants from Lebanon. Religious persecution, poverty, and compulsory military service were push factors for Lebanese immigrants during the late 1800s and early 1900s. Syrians, Assyrians, and Maronites all came to Newfoundland and Labrador to escape these hardships. We do not know how many, because of lack of research from the time. 86 Syrian and 44 Turkish immigrants were recorded, though, in the 1911 census. Many Lebanese immigrants were active in commerce and belonged to the merchant class. They opened shops, hotels, movie theaters, and other ventures, and settled in commercial larger centers. Two prominent Lebanese immigrants from the time were Anthony Touton and Michael Basha. Anthony Touton opened a successful chain of photography stores after arriving in St. John's in 1904. Those stores were open for approximately 100 years. Michael Basha ran the Bay of Islands Light and Power Company, and then became a Canadian senator, representing the west coast of the province from 1951 to 1976. Finally, let's talk about Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe. Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe faced anti-Semitic violence in Europe and fled for safety. Many settled in New York City, but some came to Newfoundland and Labrador to open shops and work as peddlers of goods. One of the most prominent Jewish immigrants from this time was Israel Perlin. He arrived in 1891 from Minsk. Initially, he peddled dry goods from Fortune to Placentia Bay, but then opened a wholesale shop called I.F. Perlin & Company in downtown St. John's. Many Jewish people found it difficult to settle here permanently, in a primarily English-speaking Christian community, where kosher food was also scarce. Approximately 12,000 Jewish immigrants attempted to settle in Newfoundland and Labrador between 1934 and 1941 to escape the Nazis. But restrictive immigration laws prevented many from settling here. Many families converted to Christianity, but this changed as the 20th century progressed and synagogues were built in St. John's, Corner Brook, and Stephenville. The image here on the slide is a group of men responsible for helping get the synagogue in St. John's built, which is still in operation today. So now it's time to review. I have a case study for you, profiling these different immigrant groups. Hopefully it will provide an opportunity to think about the hardships that they have gone through. I hope you gain some insight from these activities, and have a great day.